Members of the Carthage community held their annual suicide awareness walk over the weekend. The annual 22-minute trek across the village aims to educate people on veterans' mental health struggles. The 22 minutes signify the 22 veterans that take their own lives each day. This event was coordinated by members of Carthage's VFW Post 7227, as well as community organizations like NERCL, CGJC, and the Department of Veteran Affairs.
We want the community to be aware that there are services and there are things out there to help them. And even we have suicide prevention, but awareness is the first step in the prevention process.
The walk took participants from the Carthage Farmers Market Pavilion around the village and back.